Hello, this is bitbudha back again with another episodes of the Blacks in Cybersecurity podcast. And today we have Amanda Reid, who is the founder of Achieve It Pathway program, and she's also like a GRC master, pretty much. So I'll let her introduce herself as well.
Yes, thank you, Bit, for having me. My name is Amanda Reid, and I've been in the cybersecurity space for about 12 years. My bread and butter is GRC, so governance, risk, and compliance. I do security control assessments, ISSO work, and more than recently, I've been in the CISO space, so director level IT and security. But I'm really here because I want to be able to share a little bit about the Achieve It Pathways program. Myself and my business partner, Markeisha, we've created this awesome program for individuals who are looking to break into tech or sort of move around and navigate to improve their current positioning in tech. So maybe we can talk a little bit more about that and get some people hip to it as we go through our interview today.
Indeed, indeed. And so you said 12 years in cyber and tech. So how did you even get into this space? Like, what was your first thought? Like, oh, this is a good industry to like build myself up in. Like, what was the first like initiation into this cyber industry?
Yeah, great question. So, I actually got a degree in marketing and I was working they were the Washington Redskins at the time. And I realized that the work that I wanted to do in the position that I wanted to get in, it was going to take me forever to just kind of wait till that person left and the next person left. And then I would have been like up next. And I said, okay, something has got to give, something has got to change. Like, I'm way too broke. I had a daughter, and I said, I need to figure something out. And I actually ended up having a brother who came over and was like, you have to meet this guy. You have to take this class about risk management, and I can show you how to break into tech. All you have to do is just kind of like take this course and study over the courses of a couple weeks, and you'll get everything you need to learn about like the NIST risk management framework. And yeah, essentially back then, it was a fairly, I wouldn't say new concept, but a lot of organizations were just sort of breaking into this like cycle of doing the assessments and doing that kind of work. So I got lucky and was pretty much like self-taught and taught through different courses until I made my way up the chain.
And it's beautiful that you have people around you to even like guide you in the right direction, because I feel like that's kind of the biggest pitfall for people trying to get in tech and cyber. They don't really have a lot of guidance, right? But yeah, speaking about guidance, how did you start Achieve It Pathway? Like, did you have other mentors or business owners, or like other people around you who kind of like push you towards that, or like how did you start the program?
Yeah, so okay. I ended up doing tech and getting really, really good at it. I really did climb through the ranks quick. So my first job was like 105K. A couple months later, another company wanted to bring me on for like 165K with a travel job. So I really like worked my way through, I guess, the ranks very quickly. And then that made me feel like, okay, let me go ahead and start teaching other people, especially people that look like us, like how they can, do this same play. And over time, I partnered with the same guy who taught me. He actually ended up giving me his business, and I kept the cycle going. And so I kept teaching folks. We kept making the curriculum better each year because obviously like tech just continues to grow. So we were always like refining and figuring out new things to teach and what were, companies looking for when they're bringing people on. And I had another, set of team that I kind of built over time. And we started this whole thing. So Achieve It came along because once my friend who handed me his business retired, I took over and I realized after listening to my customers, like they were like, Amanda, your class is amazing. But I want more, I want to know how I can actually break into tech, because at that point we were sort of just teaching just the concepts and the important things, but they were like, this is all great, but I need help actually getting a job. And I guess my resume and, my 1 hour session of resume wasn't enough. So what I did was I would send them over to, at the time, my business partner now, Markeisha, and she does like the whole career development thing. She does the resumes, the interview prep. So I'm like, okay, well, you just go to my friend. I only teach the coursework. I only do the curriculums. Go to her. She's great. She'll help you get in. And she's like helping people get in, kind of sealing the deal. Once they have the information, they get the resume done through her. And then they go and do these like mock interviews and get all this like mentorship from her. So we came together and we said, you know what, we're tired of this like referral system. Let's just put something together where it's a one-stop shop where people come, they get their certifications, they get their role-based training, their focus training, and then they also get that career development piece where they can get the resume, the interview preparation, the LinkedIn optimization, and all that. And so we said, let's just create a pathway. So one-stop shop where if you're looking to break into tech, you follow our pathways courses, or if you're kind of just looking to move around, we also get students that might already, have experience and they just want to take an accelerator course, right? So what we'll do is we'll just have them in like a quicker sort of like 10 to 12 week course, to help them just with their skills and to level up. So Markeisha and I really put a lot of thought in this whole idea that you shouldn't have to go 100 million places and do all of this research. Let us do all of that for you. And we'll essentially work with you up until you get a job, because that's what we do. We stay with our students when they enroll with us. We hold you accountable. You have people checking on you on a weekly basis. You're just always engaged, and we work with you up until you score that gig. So
Yeah, and it's really beautiful that you stay with the students even after they finish the program, because I know a lot of different programs and cohorts, right? Where it's like as soon as you graduate, it's like, well, go like fend for yourself, which I feel like that's not really fair. But if you are gonna do that, at least be up up front about it, at least. But let's
mhm.
like zoom out for a little bit, right? So for people who aren't in cyber tech, what is GRC? Like, what is that in the first place?
Yeah, absolutely. Good question. So a lot of people don't realize this, but every single day they're interacting with cybersecurity at some capacity. So, if you have an iPhone, you're forced to do these updates. Like, that's cybersecurity. If you're logging into just about everything now, and it sends you over a passcode, like multi-factor authentication, that's what it's called. Like, you log in and then they're saying, oh, well, we just sent this passcode or these numbers to your email. That's cybersecurity. Having Wi-Fi, cybersecurity, protecting your phone when you're out physically, right, with passwords, and making sure that you don't just set your phone anywhere or keep your laptop open while you're at a coffee shop. Cybersecurity. Like, we do so much of this cybersecurity in our everyday that people don't really realize it until they sit down and they spend time with it. So GRC is essentially governance, risk, and compliance. And when we think about governance, think about our government, right? We have a government that sort of oversees us. And then there's risk. Anything you do in life, there's a risk. If you cross the street, there's a risk, good or bad, right? And then you have compliance, right? So how do you stay in alignment and compliant with whatever the rule is? So you have your governance that creates these like laws, right? Then you have your risks, which are going to be here, there, everywhere, anywhere. And then you have your compliance, making sure that you're actually doing what you need to do. And I always like to use like the law, or even like I said, the government, or crossing the street. We already know that there's a law that says, hey, don't jaywalk, right? And if you do, you have a risk. Either you get hit, you get a ticket, or you get a cross safe, right? It just depends on whatever the risk is. But there's always going to be a risk, good or bad. And then you have that compliance where you might jaywalk, and then the wrong police, like, the cop is having a bad day and he's like, oh, here's a ticket. Or, you might walk across the street and you waited for the walk sign to go. So now you're like following the rules, you're doing it right. So it's just basically how we look at staying secure and ensuring that there's governance around the security of systems and people's data. You can't just collect people's data and just let it be willy-nilly. You actually have to have procedures around protecting it and lowering the risk, and ensuring that these laws are constantly being followed throughout the cycle of actually having that data. Data's like gold. is so, so important to so many companies, people, organizations. And I think more and more people are starting to realize that everything you do is being captured and collected. And we have to make sure as citizens that we're holding folks that are doing that accountable, and protecting our information, because it is, you know, it is valuable and can be sensitive if that is the type of information that it is. So
And that's like a beautiful analogy. The crosswalk analogy is like so like spot on point. But I also wanted to ask you, what are some of the most popular like GRC tools or like softwares?
great question. I think some common GRC tools that are used a lot, at least in my realm, are like Archer. I love Archer. I'm gonna always like hope that any position or client I'm dealing with that they're leveraging Archer. There's CSAM. There's more there's more sophisticated tools, and I wouldn't even say sophisticated. I think if you have that clearance level and that access, you get like your emasses and exactas. You can use ServiceNow for sort of like this GRC setup. So there's a bunch of tools out there, and really the GRC tool is essentially a repository of all of the documentation that we're collecting, because there's a lot of documentation, there's a lot of evidence and artifacts and files and screenshots, all types of stuff that you're collecting in this kind of work to ensure that the controls are operating and implementing and doing what they're supposed to do.
Yeah, no, like I'm definitely because every time I hear about a new space in tech and cyber, I'll try to see like what is like the most popular thing I could tangibly like use. So I'm definitely gonna look into those more. And also in terms of positions, like how is the like what is the GRC ladder like? Are you like, do you start as like a GRC analyst, and a GRC engineer, and a GRC architect? Like how does the trajectory for a GRC career path look?
Yeah, that's a tricky question. It's funny because it just depends. Like, I feel like the roles that I'm mostly aware of, and I don't like to get hung up on titles either, because a job will tell you you're a cybersecurity analyst, and then you get on the job and you're doing something totally away from just analyzing or being an analyst, right? But some of the popular titles that I like to, I guess, call out under GRC are titles like security control assessors, auditors, information system security officers, so ISSOs, cybersecurity analysts, pretty generic. I don't say that there's an actual tier. There might be like a vulnerability management specialist, a pen tester. It sort of kind of wraps and depends on where you stand, because GRC in itself is a very huge sort of, I don't even want to call it department, but chunk of cyber as a whole. So there's so many different lanes you can go into. Developer, you might be a part of GRC through that. Then there's the leadership roles. So there's a lot. There's a lot there. And people that want to get started in the space, I usually tell them, use ChatGPT to first kind of work backwards. Let ChatGPT know, what is it that you want to actually be doing, right? Like, is it about work-life balance for you? Is it about the money? Is it about, I don't really want to talk to people, or I want to be dealing with people and customers? So I tell ChatGPT everything you wish in your cybersecurity position. And if it's specifically GRC, I still want to work within GRC, kind of really prompt ChatGPT to push you in that direction, because then what ChatGPT will do is spit out all these jobs, and then you just go do your research and you say, okay, I like this role because I like the pay, and I like the fact that, software engineers seems to get a lot of remote work opportunities. So let me now go and look to see what it's going to take for me to qualify as one of those individuals. So I always tell people to sort of work backwards. Go out here, do the research saying like, these are my wants. This is what I, see myself doing. And then ask ChatGPT to kind of match you with something as close to that. And then whatever you see there, just go through and look at the requirements. That way, okay, this is the cert that I want to get or need to get. This is the training I need to spend my time on, and that sort of thing. Kind of helps you plan out that direction that you want to go into.
That's key. Like that's pivotal because like I like what you said. Like reverse engineering it, but also think about like what do you want out of like life, right? What do you
Right.
want out of life, right? And then go back to the job or business, right, career, and then go to the requirements, right? So start at like the ideal life or lifestyle you want, then going back. I like recommend the same thing for everybody because a lot of people, I think they just think of like a dream job. Cool, you could reach your dream job, but then you realize sadly, oh, it's not the type of lifestyle I wanted. Like a lot of people is that was it like I think the guy was like an attorney or a lawyer, right? He always wanted to be this, right? But then he realized like the work life. No. Actually, my friend, he was like a financial planner. He realized the work life balance wasn't there at all. Right? He was working like 60, 80 hour weeks, you know? So definitely seeing like the role that fits that type of lifestyle you want. I think that's definitely genius. So say I want to get into GRC, right? What are the popular like certifications or also do you think I need like someone needs a bachelor's or master's or like a doctorate or any of that stuff as well, or do you think that they could just go like hands-on with the and certifications as well?
Yeah. So I think now where we're at, and this kind of plays into the last thing you even asked me. I think where we're at is people have romanticized this industry, meaning that people make it look easy, people make it look cool, people make it look like I need to be in this industry. But they kind of forget that it still takes the work to be in the industry, right? And no one wants to really hear that, like, oh my God, I got to go through all of this. But the reality is, um, it takes some work. And I think the best thing that you can possibly do for yourself, I'm not going to say you need a degree, but you are now going up against people who have the degree, right? And it does matter when you're sort of trying to shift into a space, and it also matters how fast you want to shift in, right? Like when I got in, I had my degree, I had some of my masters completed, and that kind of helped me. But I'm not going to say that I had to do that, right? Because also at the same time, I always tell myself, like, if I could go back, I probably wouldn't have spent the money on college because you don't really need a degree in tech. Now, you do need to have the certifications, or just things on your resume, whether that's certs or experience that sets you apart. Because now, again, you're competing with a bunch of people in a space, and everybody's fighting for that remote, ISSO position. And I think having certs, like, always nice to have a security plus. Not saying that you're going to use that per se. I think it's more security driven now. But I think it's always a great one that people can start out with, because if you don't want to do GRC, you can take that same cert and you can take it anywhere with you across like the IT and cyberspace. So that one is a good one to have. I have my CASP, I have my CEH. There's, the holy grail, like the CISSP, which takes time and actual work experience in order to even qualify and take it. So kind of sort of mapping out your certification game plan is always a good idea. There's your CISM. And then a lot of companies like that, AWS and Azure Cloud Security, those kind of certs come in handy as well when you're trying to just kind of break in or I guess move up in the ranks. But having your certs, having a degree, having a clearance, right? I know some people who have dedicated, a year or two just doing physical security just so that they could qualify for a clearance. And then this is for more so GovTech, but like they wanted to get into the space and make good money, right? I think all of those things really matter. And at some capacity, you're going to need something. I'm not going to say, oh, you can just come in and, not have any sort of qualifications. You definitely should try to get some of those things on your resume because they do set you apart.
Yeah, you definitely gave a good like lay of the land. And it's just like interesting because this space is so vast, but I feel like the more going back to what you were saying earlier, the more you know what type of lifestyle and role you want, it makes it a bit easier. You could like filter it down and just have a clearer
Right.
path. And you were speaking about the government clearances, right? So I know in cyber, like the government used, but in like GRC, how big of an influence you would say like are these clearances? Like, would you say it's even more so pertinent on the GRC side, or it's probably the same as a normal cyber field?
I say it's the same.
Okay.
It just everything is based on the project and the data in the agency you're working for, right? Um, and again, back to your lifestyle comment, it's one of those things where, you know, if you do get a top secret, you're probably going to be on site a lot more, right? And if on site is not really what you want, then should you be so hung up on getting a clearance or not being able to get a clearance, or how would you get one, right? So I guess it just kind of depends on, again, what you want. But I wouldn't say it's more than one or the other. I think if you're doing work that requires the clearance, which is like a lot of gov tech work and kind of like IL 4, 5, and 6 systems, you're going to be kind of on the hook to needing that in order to qualify. So, but you don't have to, right? Like there's options. Like I don't want to discourage people. Like there's definitely options.
So, you know, like as you said, yeah, there's definitely options, but these are just all things that you kind of make your the likelihood of you like getting that interview a bit higher. So I definitely understand, or even like just the job opportunity just opening up in general, just like expands like the opportunity. But so we clearly see you're super deep in the GRC space. Well, who is Amanda Reid outside of tech, right, or outside of GRC, right? If you were to like take all of that away for a second, right, who would you be like on your days? Sorry, I'll word it this way: if you had like a week, right, where all of your bills are paid, your family was good, everything was covered, right? You don't gotta like do any of that. What would you be doing with your time?
I love that question. Number one, I just can't wait for that to be my reality. But Amanda Reid, outside of tech, she is a mother. She's funny. She's really chill. I'm just a girl. You know, I like to get my nails done. I like to get my hair done. I'm goofy. I love to travel, you know, just the typical things, go to nice restaurants and work out and just create this peaceful space that I'm really trying to get to. Like, I'm still goal driven even when I'm not doing work things. So that's really like sort of all I know. And in between that, I'm just like having a good time, joking around, and kind of taking life as easy as possible, because outside that little week where I'm like, not who you just said, it can be tough, you know, business owner and all of that. So in all, I think I'm just always striving, ambitious, fun, chilling with the kids, being funny, chilling. All of it. I'm
Uh,
everything.
Now that's like so beautiful as well, because like the fact that you're a mother, business owner, right, and you still have that ambition. I want to ask, how do you keep that ambition? Because cyber in general is a lot, just in general, right? But then having a cyber business, right, and then being a mother and have a family on top of that, right? How do you keep that ambition, even though you have like so much other stuff that are like pulling for your attention and time and energy? How do you keep like what keeps you going?
Yeah, I think I'm spiritual, so I got to give that to the Lord, I think. And what I'm realizing as I grow as a woman is that I'm really blessed to have this level of talent to do it, because it's hard. And mothers know that, and people who have families know that. It's a lot to juggle. And some days are just like, I don't want to do anything. And other days are like, I wish I had more time to do everything. But in that, you just kind of find a balance, and you know that, number one, as a parent, your kids deserve so much more. They didn't ask to be here. So, you know, that drives me. I know that I was placed on this earth to be great, and that there's this level of abundance that's out there just waiting for me to just, you know, get it. So those are the things that keep me like going and motivated. Like I want so much. Like in my mind, what my all is, I want it all. So even in the thicks and the thins, you know, I have a great support system. I think that's always great. People really need to have a great support system. They need to be able to pray and have some sort of figure. Like for me, it's going to be the Lord, Jesus Christ. That's going to be where I confide. But you got to have these things. You have to have an escape, right? Writing and journaling is great. And just trying to find that time for yourself and just say, hey, today or for this hour, I'm just going to disconnect, and I'm going to just, you know, spend some time with me. and whatever that looks like is just what I do.
That's amazing. I definitely will second that as well because you definitely have to have time to kind of center yourself. You know, you definitely have time. You need it, and like the support network is huge as well, right? So in tech or cyber, right? Who would be some people you say that inspired you or like mentored you or like because I remember at the start you were saying like you had like I believe like family or friends who kind of like, hey, check out this course, you know. So like
Mhm.
who else in your journey would you say have been like people that inspired you or guided you on your cyber and GRC journey?
Yeah, honestly, like I said, like my brother, he completely just bought the opportunity to me. So he was an awesome vessel there, just saying, like, hey, you need to do this. Um, the guy who taught me mostly like everything that I knew at the foundation and always sort of looked out through my journey. His name is Elias. He was great. And then now, I'm super inspired by some of the influencers that I see, right? Like some of them are great and honest and, putting in the work to try to get people the help that they need. But, right now for me, and I'm not just saying this because she's my business partner, but I spend a lot of time with her in the workspace and kind of just building up this. And, Markeisha, she is just like, what is it? Relentless. She's relentless. She's not stopping. She's all day, every day, all night. I'm like, girl, she don't have kids. And I'm just like, girl, I need you to have some kids so you can understand. Like, this is a lot. Like, she is on it all day, all night. She just sets this standard that I've never seen, really in my own exposure. And I think she's just great as a woman. And she gets it done. And that's the whole thing. It's like, get it done and get it done at a high level so that number one, you can do the job, which is help people. But number two, you can set the standard, right? Like you want to make sure that people know when they come to you that they're getting what they pay for and better in its quality because that's what we like. Like, we go out to eat. We don't want, shitty service or, bull crap. Like we want the real deal. We're spending our money here. So we want to feel valued and we want to get high value. And so we relate on so many levels, but I say she's awesome. I have some other folks like former military folks who and they were like upper ranks and they retired. So some old heads, I like to lean in on them too because they have a lot of experience and they're sort of handing the torch right down to like the millennials. Like we're up next, and that helps too. Not to really necessarily adopt what they're doing, but this is how they did it, and that kind of helps navigate the space as well and gives you new ideas. But I'm always down in general just to network with people and you know find events that I can meet more people and people like you. You're dope, right? And you're ambitious and you're out there doing your thing. So I'm kind of like sensitive to the world around me and the opportunity around me. So
That's beautiful, and I like the relentless. I think that's like a skill that's pretty much mandatory. Like if you're in cyber, like you have to have a bit of that energy in you. Because if not, well, I would say even tech in general. Because if you're not, you would just kind of be pushed to the side very quickly because things change so rapidly. So that energy
yeah,
is definitely needed. And being ambitious too is like a wonderful trait to have. So what is your like for we'll keep it at this year for now, right? So what is your like North Star or like what is your like your big overarching goals for like this year, 2026?
yeah. So I am I am partnering and partnered with my production team, and they're really helping me like build out this brand as a whole. So my biggest goal, if anything, is to just get the brand out on the map because um, we just really want to showcase this truth, and people only really like what they can trust. And Amanda has been, doing the work without displaying the work. And that's been my downfall. And I've gotten to a place now that I realize that I will not be able to grow or cast the net outside of people that know me unless I put myself out there and sort of be vulnerable and open for people to see who I am, you know, in the professional setting and at home with my kids and things like that. So really one of my biggest goals is just kind of building out that brand and being great in that. And then the other goal that I have is like going to more conferences and starting to do speaking engagements and being on podcasts like this. Like I really want to partner with different groups and communities so that I can start to build my own community and attract people into my world and into my space. So that's what we're really on. There's a couple of conferences that I'm looking at, like this AI4 conference is happening in Vegas. I think it's in August. It's going to be pretty good. And then, of course, there's like Cybersecurity Week coming up shortly. Billington Cybersecurity. Then shout out to Thanksgiving. I have to always kind of give them a shout out because when we first started Achieve It, we were sort of in the pilot phase. So we set up a little table and we met a ton of people there. And actually, we gave away a prize. And one of the students, Tatiana, who now has a job, 6 figures, you know, she was our lucky winner and she took our course and ended up doing the pathways and getting a job. So, you know, just trying to, I guess, get out there more with more than just, you know, the people that I've inspired so that I can inspire more people.
And that is beautiful because like you're literally like already doing it. Even you being on the like podcast now, it literally goes into what you're planning to do. And the beautiful thing, if you're a blessing, right, and you weren't branding or marketing and stuff, right? When you put yourself in the spotlight, you can only heal and raise more people, you know? So that's definitely super, super beautiful. And in terms of conferences, you talk about Thanksgiving, Tech Week. So what are some other conferences that is on your like radar, or the top cyber or GRC related conferences that are on your radar for like the rest of the year, and just like in like general, like a top ones that you could think about?
Yeah, I think like the main 2 I listed that are like top are going to be the AI conference, the AI4. That's a huge one. Like they bring robots out. And there's just a ton of like different products that you can sort of demo right in front of you. It's huge now. And then also the Billington is nice too. Cybersecurity Billington. That's a good one. That one's locally here in Washington, D.C. But I always follow like Fed Scoop, FED Scoop. They always post some really good conferences. And if you have a government like email, you can actually attend those for free.
Oh yeah, that's definitely beautiful. We definitely got to tap in with that. And so the GRC space, right? How technical would you say it gets, right? Is this something that you like got to learn a different like programming language, or is this something that you could just like dive into without having to get that deep in the weeds? But like, how technical can it get?
I think that's a good question. I think it's like a halfway. More and more companies are requiring individuals to be more technical savvy and actually able to implement the specific security controls that they're speaking on. But there's still heavy policy-based positions. So that's how I'll keep it. I'm not going to say you have to know how to code, no. But if you do come as somebody who's super technical and you can also speak to the policy and procedure side of the house, then you're going to be like a straight killer, right? The ones where you're just policy, that's cool, and you sort of can understand the implementation. It's cool. But sometimes you might run into companies that just want someone who can kind of do both. So if you are getting in the GRC space, because even myself being in it so long, I've started to take the time to learn, you know, both sides of the house. So not just policy and procedure and paperwork. It's more than that. It's also strategy. It's also implementation, understanding budgets, understanding the business side, being able to communicate with third-party vendors that your companies use. So kind of doing and going a step further, because as the years go on, this industry gets more and more sophisticated. So you want to stay up with it, especially stay up with AI and, stay in the loop on what's going on so that you don't get left behind.
Okay, no, I definitely understood. Especially like cyber in general is like that, but it makes sense that the GRC space is like pretty much the same thing. It's good to know both aspects, like the front and like back of house, as you said. And so it's 2026 now, and you brought up the most popular thing in tech now, AI, right? So what are your views on AI, and how do you think it's going to affect the GRC space in general?
Yeah, so AI governance is huge. We actually wrote up an AI governance curriculum, and we ran that one a couple cohorts, and it was definitely a student favorite. I think that more and more I see organizations moving quickly to adopt AI policies, procedures, and principles, and I don't think it's going anywhere. I think, people are using it, so companies have to get ahead of that and govern it. That's why their governance is a thing. NIST has already put out the AI RMF. You should be educating yourself about AI guardrails and sort of like this AI process of, govern, measure, map, and manage. You should just start to really like do your research on it now because it's not going anywhere. And now they're adopting it into the security and authorization process, like assessment and authorization processes. So just welcome it into your space. And I tell the people that are usually like scared, as long as you learn it and get comfortable with it, it shouldn't be able to take your job. I think that there's always going to need to be some sort of human aspect behind it. So how can we embrace it in a positive light, right? Do ethical things, so that we kind of stay on the end of not like having our jobs be eaten by AI.
And you said the key thing because I've heard it a lot now. They say you won't be replaced by AI. You will be replaced by someone who knows how to use AI properly, right? And I feel like it's just like a next level of everyone just kind of sharpening their expertise, pretty much. So
Yeah.
like that makes like it makes like a ton of sense. So what are some other aspects in cyber tech that caught your eye or like interest right now? So besides GRC, besides AI, what other things in cyber would you say is like, oh, like this is really really cool, or this is really really like interesting?
Hmm. I'm so boggled down with the work that I do and just like because like the work that we do, we're actually dealing with like senior leadership directly, like the C-suite, like we it's just so much work that to be honest with you, I haven't necessarily like said, "Oh, this is something else I want." Aside from like AI governance, maybe tech sales is cool. I see people and that's cool to me because I'm like, oh my gosh, you're making so much money like selling product. But honestly, I like the space that I'm in and I really like the fact that it's always going to be around. Like you're always going to need to govern the use of technology. Like there's always going to be governance, right? There's always going to be a risk in life and you're always going to have to be compliant with something. So I just feel secure in my space and I'm happy about it. I think if anything, just getting more technically sound and I don't know what that looks like. We might do some coding and I tell people all the time, honey, I was the queen of coding. Like MySpace days, I had the HTML. People were writing me, asking me to, can you do my page? How'd you do that? So I know I have some coding still within me somewhere from back in the day, some HTML. But no, I think, for me, I think I'm really, really happy in the space and I'm just looking forward to navigating on whichever direction the space sort of goes, kind of following it.
Right. Yeah, no, I definitely get that because once you're so deep in a space, it's almost like everything you see and perceive is in that space or through the lens of that space in general,
Yeah.
right? So
I
even
would
if a new
literally be
tech,
starting over if I was like,
yeah,
okay. And I probably wouldn't start back over in tech. I'd probably
mm,
just be doing something totally different, like full-time
right,
influence or something. But no, I
right.
think I'm okay in the space just because as far as I got. But for people who are in, spaces and they don't like them, I'm always like an advocate for you just going out and like starting over and doing a whole pivot. But I'm like, 3 kids in, I want another child. I'm trying to like, still be cute and move to Jamaica. I don't think I have any, I don't want to work anymore. I'm trying to retire. But that's me.
Yeah, but that's like beautiful. And speaking about MySpace, right? So from the time you entered the GRC space to right now, right, 2026, what is something you would say is like the biggest difference and something that has gotten like better in the space, or something? Well, both what has gotten better in the GRC space and something that you're not really a fan that has changed as well on like both sides of the axis.
Yeah. So GRC, I think I like that more people are understanding what the requirements are. So more people can actually understand why we're asking for a specific security control. Before, we would have to break the control down 10 different ways, like teach people how to write up how a control is implemented, like dig around and run around and figure out who has the information, who's the stakeholder responsible for this particular control. I think now that, the industry has gotten more sophisticated, processes are sort of in place. I think that traction is there. So I like that. I think what I don't like, and I guess I don't like it because um, it's kind of two-headed. It's like I don't like how oversaturated the industry got. I'm not saying that because I don't feel like everyone should have an opportunity. It's just now, employers are going above and beyond with this like interview process. Like some people are going through 3 or 4 or 5 interviews. The questions aren't consistent. Answers are kind of, sometimes there's not always a right or wrong answer, right? And some places do their process is one way and other places do it another way. And that's annoying because you're not really giving people a standard. Like if you go to the doctor or if you're going after being a doctor, they have set things you need to meet. Like these are the set roles and responsibilities. I feel like right now in this space, with there being some trust issues with like deep fakes and people using ChatGPT during interviews, you know, companies trying to weed out people who are just trying to finesse them for quick jobs or, clearances or remote work or whatever it is. Like, I think that's caused the hiring space to be jumbled. Even the use of like AI tools to like scan a resume before it actually gets in front of a human. All of that stuff is just super frustrating. And I feel like that's frustrating for anybody that's trying to break in, but also people that are trying to either pivot or move up. It's like, what is the standard? Like, why is it, not consistent? Or why aren't you all leading with scenario-based questions as opposed to, playing this gotcha game? Or can you please turn your camera on? We just got to make sure you're not a deep fake. Like, we didn't have to go through all this. It's just so annoying.
I'm sure that everyone in like the tech industry, well, I think even most workers in general, especially now in the age of AI, is really frustrated with how the job market is getting because it's like so much more like stringent and like so much more hurdles, right? And so much more like traps, right? In every single aspect. But as you said in the start, it is beautiful that there's more access to like information and people know stuff. But now with the information, you try to apply it, but then they make you go through 50,000 hoops to even get
Right.
to the role you want. So it's bittersweet. It's definitely
Yeah.
it's bittersweet. And I also wanted to ask you about these GRC frameworks, right? Because there's all these different frameworks, right? So if you could just list like the most popular frameworks in the GRC space, and like also if you know like the origin of them as well.
Ooh, quiz questions. I'm always going to speak on my favorite one. It's the risk management framework. That's going to always be my bread and butter. It is it starts with step 0, prepare. Then you go to your categorize, select, implement, assess, authorize, and monitor. It's always going to be my favorite one because like the rest of them kind of, I feel, come from that idea of just kind of managing a system over its life cycle. So that one came from this. That's always going to be my bread and butter. And if I ever interview anyone, I probably will always pop that question. Walk me through the risk management framework. But then you have your cybersecurity framework, CSF. What other frameworks? I was telling you about the AI RMF, and there's a ton. I wouldn't say a ton of others, but those are like your common ones. You have your cybersecurity triad, which is your confidentiality, integrity, availability. That's important. I think that's probably important across all of IT and cybersecurity. But yeah, for me, I'm always gonna be the vote of RMF. That one.
Yeah, RMF is like interesting because I remember, well, yeah, we're in like this is a Blacks and Cyber podcast. In the last Blacks and Cyber cohort, they had someone kind of like walking us through it and all that stuff. And it's very, you see, the other thing I love about tech, regardless of where you're in tech, you realize there's always more to learn. Like it's like a never endless like ocean of like information to like learn. And like she was kind of teaching us a bit about the RMF, so that's pretty cool. So in tech and like cyber, right? What would you say is probably the hardest part of your role in like GRC, or something that you're like, oh my god, this is like the part that is like makes you like, oh my god, this is so irritating. Like, what would you say is like the most difficult part about being in the GRC space?
Uh, the phone calls, so annoying. Like the one-off Teams calls. I'm like, are you kidding me? Like you are not on my schedule. No, I'm just kidding. That is annoying though. Like, please put it in an email. Just put it. Definitely put it in an email. I think our work is mostly complicated if you're dealing with a tough client. I think if you're dealing with a client who cares more about like micromanaging the people and not the tasks, you run yourself being in a situation where it's like, I hate it, right? But otherwise, nothing else. Like work environment is important for the work that we do because it is tedious. Like it is a lot of work. And so you don't want to be doing a lot of work and being irritated. Like that's just annoying. And you don't want people just calling you where they could have just put it in an email. That's annoying. And you also don't want people to be like forcing these micromanaging like rules, like, oh, you have to have your camera on, or you got to come in the office. Like you're doing too much. Like, what is the task and is the task done? Like, yes or no? Let's be real. Like, especially when you're actually doing what you're supposed to do now. To their defense, there are people who take advantage and, they don't show up. But like a professional like me, I'm doing it all. So please, don't try me. Because I'm going to per my email every time. But no, I think those are sort of some of those work environment challenges kind of make the job like, this doesn't have to be that hard, but I see what you're doing today. So
I understand. And I think the people aspect in tech in general, the people aspect is just life in general, honestly.
Right.
The people aspect of life in general is always something that could go like astray. And so earlier we were speaking about how the tech industry is so beautiful. What the GRC says, there's so much more information, right? But now these loopholes and like pits that they have us in to even get to the role is a lot, right? So tell us a bit more about Achieve It pathway, right? So from start to finish, right? I'm thinking that the goal of Achieve It is to make that pathway easier, so you don't fall in these pit holes and traps and loops and all this stuff, right? So from start to finish, what is Achieve It pathway and how could it help someone in their GRC career and also do you guys have other programs outside of GRC as well?
Yeah, so love this question and I don't mind answering it. Achieve It Pathways program is awesome. What we have done and what we have built is literally your one-stop shop for all of your I want to break into tech needs, right? If you look at our website or if you call our admissions advisors, they can give you all of the information and sort of help you navigate to get the right fit. Now, you asked a really good question. do you do more than just GRC? We offer GRC. We offer software engineering for beginners. We offer AI governance. We offer help desk, so IT information help desk, and a ton of other topics for role-based training. But if you're someone who's like, hey, I want to break into tech, I don't know how, you give us a call and we literally walk you through the process. The very first few months of you being a part of our program, you're earning your industry recognized certification. So what does that mean? For example, the Security Plus, right? Like our current cohort, they're focused on GRC, but we have them taking the Security Plus, which they've taken and passed. But you get live training. So you actually are with an instructor for about 3 months or so, 3.5 months, and you're learning the CompTIA actual material so that you can be successful on the exam. You get 2 vouchers. You get one, and then you get another one in case you fail. But none of our students have failed, so they didn't have to use that one. After they spend a little time with the certification piece, they come to the role-based training. So that's the specific focus in cyber. If you don't know what you want to do, that's okay. We sort of help you. We get to know who you are and like align you with what your goals and aspirations are. But you spend about 4 months with that live instructor. So we're live all across the board. And you're actually learning how to do the specific job, because that's going to be important for you to actually get the job. Once you finish that section, you go over to career development, where during this period, you are creating your resume, or if you opt to get the done for you, we do the resume for you. So we have like 2 parts to that. Either you can get everything done for you, or we teach you how to do everything and you do it yourself. Obviously, the done for you is going to come with a higher cost, where the you do it yourself, we teach you the same exact way, but you're actually just going to do the resume or do the LinkedIn and all these things. So within that portion, we're optimizing your LinkedIn account. We're working with you on these interviews and job preparation. So you're doing live interviews with us. We're giving you strategies on how to answer very important questions that are common across interviews that we see, right? Because we have our professionals who either interview for a living. We do case studies and use cases with actual companies, so we know what they're actually asking for. And then we also have partnerships with companies that help us sort of facilitate this portion, because we want to make sure our students are super prepared when they go out for different interviews. We also have a done for you application piece that if you do opt into the done for you, we actually apply for jobs for you as well on your behalf. So there's a ton of that. And we're just providing you with pretty much everything you need in order to actually get the job. And we're staying with you until you get the job for up to a year. So you're pretty much going across this entire pathway, and we're holding your hand throughout that. I think some of the things that make our program different is that you get an accountability partner. So you get someone who's calling and checking with you on a weekly basis. Like, hey, what's up? You know, I saw you turned in your homework late. Are you okay? What's going on at home? All right, make sure you get this done. Like every week you have someone that's checking in on you that you can trust, you can give your feedback to, and sort of just motivating you to complete the program. Like, we need you to be successful. We want you to break into tech, and we have put together like this full process in a team to make sure that, you know, you do just that.
Yeah, and that's amazing, because as we were saying earlier, the fact that someone could like stay with you and having the accountability partner is so like, it's mandatory pretty much, because I've been in different trainings as well, right? And kind of that was my like role, to kind of check on the team and kind of make sure that they were okay, right? Because if you're in tech, is hard in general, right? But a lot of people have a lot of like psychological stuff, emotional stuff, financial stuff, family stuff, right? So you need somebody who kind of like not hold your hand, but just like motivate you. It's like to even cheer you on, right? Because I even had people I know, their parents is, oh, you shouldn't be wasting your time with this type of program. Like, you have even people speaking in your head telling you that you shouldn't be doing stuff, right? So that is definitely like so critical and so like crucial. So like, it's beautiful to hear that. And I also wanted to ask you about the cloud, right? The cloud, and I also wanted to ask you a bit about these tools, right? So first, how pertinent is the cloud in the GRC space? And also, for all of these GRC tools, are they like browser-based applications or are they desktop-based applications?
Yeah, so the cloud is very important. Everything is essentially like moved to the cloud. You're going to have your obviously on-prem servers and systems that you may have with your company or may not. But a lot of companies have already kind of migrated, and if not, the servers that you are dealing with on-prem are probably servers that will require you to have some sort of level of clearance. I don't see that many. There might be one or two servers on-prem, but mostly everything is in the cloud. So you do have to understand how to assess a cloud-based system. And I think that that's also a common interview question across the board is, do you have experience with systems in AWS or in Azure? Do you have experience with FedRAMP? Sort of, cloud providers and things like that. So what I think when it comes to that, if you do go get a cloud certification, that always makes you look a lot better. And I think companies value that. So that's number one. And then in terms of like the GRC tools, I kind of listed just like the repository tools, but there's other tools. Like when it comes to security control assessments, you're looking at the different tools that are utilized to actually implement the controls. So like Splunk, very popular tool. It's an auditing and logging tool that many companies use to capture events with their systems. And so as a GRC specialist, you're sort of like looking into those, asking for logs to be prepared, making sure that certain alerts are set up. And it just depends on what company you're in, whether you either have it desktop or web-based. A lot of what I use is like web-based, but it has like either Okta, it's protected. So there's only certain ways you can get in, or you have to be on a VPN because you're dealing with sensitive secret information. So I can't just kind of like log in on it anywhere, but on the computers behind the VPN with my company, that sort of thing. But there's a ton of different tools. There's Case for patching, and there's different password vault management tools companies are using, Bitwarden. Like we look at all kinds of tools because we look at all 20 security control families. So any sort of tool that is helping a control be implemented and operating as it's intended to be, then, we're kind of like looking at it and checking out its implementation configuration and how it actually does its job for the agency or client.
Wow, and it's beautiful hearing you speak because now it's like, even when you brought up Splunk, I'm seeing more and more overlap, right? Especially in like cyber, right? You just see like, oh, this is this and this, and it's literally just like it's like a lot of Venn like diagrams, pretty much, They're all kind of like looped around each other, which is like so cool. So, and also we have like 2 more minutes left, right? So I wanted to share everything you are doing with the year, all your links, all your socials, just share everything that you are doing with the viewers.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. If you want to follow me on social media, I go by Manda.Milan or Manda_Milan. So Manda.Milan on IG, Manda_Milan on TikTok, and you can find some awesome content there because I share across my platforms. I'm Amanda Reid on LinkedIn, and Amanda Reid is all you need, so you'll find me. Our website is www.achieveitpathwaysprogram.com. Like I said, it is a website we took so long to communicate all of the information that you need. But if you still have questions, please feel free to reach out to us via email or give us a call. One of our advisors will love to walk you through and answer any of your questions about the program. And I'm always open to connect, speak on other podcasts, or, even just give you some great advice. If you DM me on one of my platforms or message me, you can definitely connect with me. So I think I covered like all my bases there. So hopefully you do find me and we can connect.
Well, no, yeah, we definitely appreciate your time and sharing all of your like GRC experience or cyber experience, the Achieve It Pathway program. So we definitely appreciate your time and energy. And yeah, we'll see you all next time. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.